now we're moving on to the recap of the debates. So since the last time that we actually touched on the different debates going on, there's been the vice presidential debate. There's been the cancellation of the second presidential debate. There've been a few more Senate debates. I believe Lindsey Graham and Jamie Harrison were supposed to have a second debate, but that was canceled for
Lindsey Graham got scared.
Something like that. But then we've also had Mitch McConnell debate Amy McGrath. We've had Joni Ernst debate her Senate candidate. I forgot who she's running against. So I do want to touch on a few things there. Purdue debated Ossoff, but I actually missed that debate. I want to touch on a few things there. The through line that seems to be consistent is that none of these Republicans are prepared. I would say of all of them, maybe Mike Pence was the most prepared. And Mike Pence was prepared to gaslight, as he always does, right? Mike Pence is Trump if Trump was disciplined, right? So Mike Pence went out there with Trump's playbook of let's just pivot away from the topic at hand. When someone says that the Trump administration hasn't handled the pandemic, let's make that not an insult against the Trump administration, but an insult against Americans. Because what Mike Pence would always say when Kamala Harris would say that 200,000 people are dead, this and that, you guys have failed, and then Mike Pence would be like, the American people have made it through this pandemic. They're going back to work and all that stuff. The American people have not failed, and I refuse that characterization. And
do you think they're drawing that from the Bush playbook of the war failing? Remember the war on terror in Afghanistan and Iraq and all that stuff being a failure? Oh, you're against this war, so that you're unpatriotic. You kind of get that sense of you're against our response against this pandemic. You're against America.
Yeah, very, very similar playbook. The only reason it didn't work on Bush is the war was really only a year old at that point, and the death toll was happening over there. So whereas the death toll is happening right here on our shores, if you will. So
speaking of the pandemic, real quickly, Canada extended their and they're closing their borders until sometime in November.
Yeah. Well, so the debate was the big cloud over the debate was the pandemic, and Mike Pence does a lot of like the shifty stuff, right? But he does it better than Trump. Then there was conversation around court packing again, which is the topic that will never go away, it seems, where Kamala Harris again declined to answer the question because she's like, rightfully so, she's like, this will become the conversation instead of the fact that these people are trying to ram through a justice 6 weeks before an election. Yeah, she's right about that. But the fact of the matter is the question has been asked. You kind of have to answer it. And she chose not to answer that. And then the one thing that became the meme for a day, because things happen like that and they're gone, was that a fly landed on Mike Pence's head and stayed there for over 2 minutes.
Well, flies like to eat. Never mind. I forgot Auntie's. Sorry, Auntie.
Yeah, flies land on poop is what. They recognize poop. So yes, Mike Pence is full of crap, and that fly landed there for 2 minutes. That actually prompted one of the most bizarre SNL cold opens, where they essentially said that Jim Carrey's Joe Biden went into like some transportation machine and he wanted to go over to the debate to help Kamala Harris, but instead a fly got in there with him, and he ended up becoming like a man fly, and he landed on Pence's head. And
oh, really? I gotta watch that. Is that the Bill Burr one?
Yes, it was. Yeah,
I gotta watch that because that seems like it's a very intricate like.
It's weird, yeah. And then Kenan Thompson's Herman Cain is also there as a fly, and yeah, and he's like, these guys did me wrong, yeah, and because Herman Cain passed away a few months ago from the coronavirus, and these people are like basically making light of it. So it's a weird one, but it happened.
Hey, that sounds like I'm gonna have to watch it. I'm sorry, that just.
Yeah, it's weird. Maybe I'll put it in the comments. So that happened. Then so what I was going on about saying that it seems like the Republicans haven't been prepared for these debates. The one I sent you most recently was Joni Ernst, the senator from Iowa. She's debating her opponent. They ask her opponent, what does I think it's like a bushel of corn go for? I don't know my
groupings. Yeah, so guys, so apparently in Iowa, you can have like a 25-minute debate on corn.
Yes. So Iowa is a big farm state,
We got that, yeah.
And so apparently that's like a big thing that matters to people. So right? Yeah. So they asked her opponent, what does a bushel of corn? Is it bushel? Whatever. It's something. A grouping of corn. What does it go for? And the lady was like, oh, I believe it's this amount. And the moderator, not hiding his glee, was like, yeah, you're correct. And then she goes into what that amount means. I think it's like price has been lowered because of Trump's trade wars and tariffs and yada yada. And this is why, and Joni Ernst supports this and yada yada yada. So they're like, okay, thank you for your answer. And then they were like, Senator Ernst, what does a thingy of I think beans it was go for? And then Joni Ernst went into like this whole thing about the trade war with China and like it's working for the regular people. And then after all that, the moderator was like, okay, I don't think you actually answered my question though. What is the cost of this? She was like, I want to say like $5. It was like, no, it's actually $10. And then she was like, oh, okay. Well, I thought you asked about corn. He was like, no, I asked her about corn. I asked you about this. And I was like, oh, yeah. But the thing is, like Zeus said, in Iowa, apparently you can spend 25 minutes about farming. Why aren't you prepared for that? You're the senator from there. And it basically showed that once these senators go off to Washington, they forget what they're actually there for, which is to represent their state, not to get lobbyist money.
Senator's the one that runs every 2 years?
No, senators every 6 years.
Every 6 years, but there's every 2 years there's an election.
It's the House, yeah.
Yeah, the House.
Yeah. Every 2 years there's an election, but you're running for 6-year terms.
Okay, and then in the House it's every 4 years.
Every 2 years.
See, that's the one I'm talking about. The problem is, one every 2 years, right? You're running, and then in most of my political science classes that you find, no matter what it is, you're campaigning for like 2 years on end.
Yeah.
And it's just like you don't leave room to learn about your constituents' real problems.
Right. Best case scenario, you actually do the work for a year and then you campaign for a year.
Yeah.
And then you're back at it again.
And it's kind of like that's just not how it should work,
Yeah.
On top of does Mitch McConnell get to run every 2 years then?
No. So
he's every 6 years.
6 years for him, yeah.
Maybe we need to switch it where his runs for every. Maybe he'll finally lose. Anyways, yeah. So yeah, you sent me that debate. I honestly watched like the first 6 minutes and I was like, holy crap, I can't watch it anymore. So I skipped it because I think it was like a 20-minute video that you sent me. And
no, it wasn't that long.
Was it not?
The Joni Ernst one? No, Joni Ernst wasn't that long, because I would say it was about 6 minutes. Yeah.
It felt longer because I remember I saw like the first few minutes and then I skipped it to like a little bit further and it was still something about farming. And I was like, holy crap, he's right. They really are spending like this whole entire time talking about farming. But hey, look, if that's what it's supposed to be about, then be better prepared, right? But I feel like you're right about a lot of these GOP incumbents don't seem like they need to be prepared.
Right.
Because they feel like they're a shoo-in.
Because a lot of these races we've been talking about, we're talking about McSally in Arizona, we're talking about Ernst in Iowa, McConnell. Oh, I got to talk about the McConnell debate. McConnell in Kentucky, Graham in South Carolina. If you notice, every state I've mentioned are traditionally red states. These are supposed to be safe Senate races for them, and yet they're all, maybe not so much McConnell, but the rest of them are all in jeopardy.
I will say about McConnell, though, I wouldn't be surprised if he's cost himself a little bit, though, because
I don't think it'd be enough.
Not enough, yeah, but maybe it's enough that eventually it starts leading to his downfall for the next election, which is
it's another 6 years.
It's another 6 years.
I don't think he would run for another one, to be honest. The dude's old as all heck, man. Like, no.
He looks like melted ice cream, so I wouldn't know how old he is. Right. But he so the one thing that Zino wanted to touch on was, I forgot what the question was about. It was about coronavirus, no?
Which one? With
where he
McConnell?
laughed.
Oh no, there were several points, but yeah, one of them was about coronavirus. No. Oh yeah. It was about the stimulus and not extending the
and how basically they asked him, why haven't you gotten it through, and he just laughs. Right?
Yeah, no, there were a lot of parts where he'll do this like snicker thing. Like he has this weird laugh. There was a super cut of it, like 5 times during the debate. It'd be like a serious question about, this many thousand people dead in Kentucky, but you guys haven't extended this. Why is that? Oh, you're trying to cut Obamacare and rush through this justice. Why is that? And it's like, you could tell more so than any of the other debates that I'd watched that this is a man who knows that he's untouchable.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more frustrating than that. They're knowing that you don't have to be accountable to your constituents because you're gonna get in regardless.
But I'm gonna tell you who annoys me more than him. It's his constituents that continue to
that keep put him in there. Yes.
Yeah.
You're right.
Kentucky, look, Looney Tunes. They use a saw to cut out a portion of land. We can do that to Kentucky if they keep voting this man in. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm going to keep throwing that out there.
Yeah, I mean, 2 for 2, man. McConnell and Rand Paul.
Isn't there a country in Africa that has that's landlocked in the middle of another country?
We might be thinking of Lesotho. I think Lesotho is like that. Yeah, it's like it's within another country.
Why don't we do that with Kentucky?
It's like you know how Peter and Family Guy made his own house a country. It's like Pretoria or something like that. There was an episode of that, so it's like maybe 10 years old. Anyway, so
to Kentucky, landlock it and let it be its own. Let them figure it out.
Yeah. Oh man. So there was a time early on during the virus, during the pandemic, when it was really hitting New York. And New York was asking for like a bailout, like to help out or whatever. And McConnell said something to the effect of, "We don't want to bail out. We don't want to bail out. We don't want Kentuckians to spend tax money on bailing out New York or whatever. You're trying to do that whole New York liberals type of thing."
Yeah.
And Cuomo hit back hard, basically talking about how Kentucky doesn't even produce anything for the economy. And Kentucky is more a detriment to the economy than a profit center. Like
most of the states that vote for Republicans, especially in the Deep South, take more out of the economy than they put back. Speaking of which, recently Donald Trump refused to provide relief for California, and guess which is the state that puts more money into the federal. First of all, a lot of people don't know California by itself is the third most.
If California was its own country,
it would be
I think it's like eighth.
Eighth strongest economy.
Eighth biggest economy by itself, if it was a country, and now you're trying to act, some type of
If I
way
was
by helping
California,
them
I would
out.
actually look. If I was California representatives, I would actually look into seeing if there's a way that they could vote for them no longer to feed into certain states.
If California seceded from the U.S. might crumble. I mean, it really might, because at that point, it really only has New York and Texas that are its big producers. So for McConnell to somehow suggest that they shouldn't bail out New York, or the New York Mutual for Kentucky, dude, your country, your state is technically in the red as compared to all the other states. Don't talk about New York liberals and BS. Anyway, he's just the worst.
Just trying to figure out who do you hate more, who do you dislike more, Lindsey Graham or is it McConnell, or is it
Well,
still?
I think from a principles perspective, I really dislike Lindsey Graham. I just don't think he's fit for that office. I think he's very self-serving. McConnell, I think, is probably the single most dangerous politician this country's ever had.
Morally corrupt.
He's morally corrupt, and he's doing all of this from the shadows. The Trump campaign, to their credit, they're actually trying to put some money towards stimulus, despite the president saying that, oh, I'm ending stimulus talks, which backfired heavily. The Trump campaign is trying to work with the House Democrats. Steve Mnuchin is trying to work with Pelosi. They have a difference of opinion on what the number is. Pelosi is like this really high number. The White House is this really low number. Mitch McConnell is like, we don't want any number. Why? I don't understand.
Because he's rich as shit. He doesn't need to give it to anybody.
I honestly do not understand how any of it makes sense, especially as the person representing Kentucky, to say that, hey, no stimulus relief. We don't want any of it. Like, I don't get it. So anyway, enough about McConnell.